Am I the a-hole for telling my wife to tell her mom to move out of our home after she decided to leave all the inheritance to her brother? Me, 32. Wife, 30. Brother, brother-in-law, 27. Mother-in-law, late 50s. My father-in-law recently passed away and left a very sizable life insurance policy to his son and wife, my mother-in-law. My wife received nothing. We understood this because her brother, 27, is not the brightest and still lives at home. He never goes out and only goes to work, then comes back home to play video games all day. They both recently moved into our home, as they were too distraught to continue living in the house where my father-in-law passed. My father-in-law was truly the only adult in the home and was responsible for taking care of everything. He even drove my mother-in-law to and from work daily, a responsibility that has now been passed on to my wife. I have since taken over the estate planning, such as paying bills, switching over policies, etc. My mother-in-law does not speak English and does not drive, so as family, it was my pleasure to take on this responsibility. After a month and a half, I finally settled all the bills, funeral planning, and everything else. All the heavy lifting is complete. I do not say this lightly, but without me, the family would have been completely lost. For example, they did not even know where he worked and were surprised to find out he even had a life insurance policy. Neither of them has any retirement plans or savings. I suggested opening a shared bank account for my wife and her mom to put the payout into, where it could accrue interest while also being used to pay bills monthly. My mother-in-law did not even have a bank account before this. At that point, my mother-in-law said she would rather not have her daughter on the account. She wants to give her portion of the payout to her son and have him set up with a savings account instead. She said this because my wife and I already have a home, and she believes the money would be better used on her brother. We do have a home, but we are by no means rich. In fact, them moving in was supposed to help us financially since they would be paying rent. I expressed to my wife that leaving everything to him would be incredibly irresponsible. He would be left with both the family home and the payout, and he cannot do anything for himself or be trusted with money. I say this because of what I have learned about him. He does not have a driver's license but still drives a car to and from work. He never helped with the estate. I also learned that he has a large amount of cash sitting in his checking account. He has never had a girlfriend, and since I've known him, he has shown no signs of ever wanting to move out. The large bank balance worried me because when I asked him about it, he said he just had no idea what to do with it and has no concept of retirement planning. His parents handled all the bills, and all he ever did was pay part of the mortgage, go to work, and then come home to play video games. Meanwhile, my wife was there for her mom during breast cancer, taking her to and from every appointment, even using all of her vacation and sick days to help. Her brother is not a bad guy. In fact, he is a great friend. But he does not seem like he will ever grow into a responsible person. I told my wife that after agreeing to take them in and let them live with us, it would be a slap in the face for her to be left with nothing. I told her that her mother and brother should move back to their home and use the payout to support themselves without my father-in-law. She became furious with me and said all I care about is money. However, I do not feel this is about money. I feel it is about a complete lack of respect, especially considering all the help we have given and will continue to give. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Edit, I would like to add that their plan for their family home is to rent it out. They purchased it before interest rates went up a few years ago and would make about $1,000 in monthly profit. Second edit, a lot of people are asking, so I will clarify. We did not even know about the life insurance policy when we took them in. It was only after extensive digging through his records that I discovered it. Third edit, I would like to add that my wife does not think it is right to leave them to fend for themselves because her brother and mother cannot communicate effectively. She only speaks Spanish, and he only speaks English. He understands some Spanish and can say simple words like yes or no, but cannot have in-depth conversations. I have been acting as the bridge between them, although the brother has not been involved in planning because it does not seem important to him. Fourth edit, my mother-in-law and brother-in-law did plan on paying rent. My wife and I had decided early on to give them a couple of months without rent because they were still paying their mortgage. Paying both would have been a heavy burden. This was before we knew about the life insurance payout, and even after learning about it, I honored that agreement since it would take time to rent out their home. Also, if anyone is confused, they can communicate. She speaks her mind, and he listens, nods, and responds in short phrases. However, he cannot fully communicate effectively. It seems my wife has always been the one to speak for him. It is very possible he has an undiagnosed learning disability, but I do not fault him for not knowing Spanish. Final update, this is not the update I hope to share. I apologize for taking so long, but I wanted to give things time to settle. Sadly, this is not entirely a happy update. Since then, my wife and I have single-handedly helped renovate and restore my mother-in-law's home and rented it out for her. This took many months of hard work, with little to no compensation. Again, I did not expect anything, I truly just wanted to help. For 3 to 4 months of renovations, finding tenants, and hiring contractors, paid by my mother-in-law, we received about $500. It was something, and again, I was not expecting anything. During this time, my wife repeatedly told her mom that this was something her son should be doing, since it would eventually be his home as well. When confronted, he would respond with things like, "Well, no one told me to do it. There is much more I have done, but I will not go into every detail." During this time, they have been paying rent while living with us. One small win: my brother-in-law now takes his mom to work, so my wife no longer has to. This has improved our quality of life a lot. Our original plan was for my brother-in-law to return his portion of the inheritance to his mother, who had almost no retirement savings. This would have helped her live comfortably. However, this did not happen. My mother-in-law kept her portion, and my brother-in-law kept his. My wife still received nothing. To make matters worse, his money is sitting in a checking account earning no interest. Had we known this would happen, we would have suggested they move back home earlier. However, since tenants are now in the home on a 12-month lease, we are stuck. We are at least receiving some rental income, which my mother-in-law refers to as our inheritance. Because of this, I continued helping with paperwork and organizing their lives, as I felt less taken advantage of. However, it is frustrating to do everything while someone with significantly more money lives stress-free, playing video games all day. My wife has asked her brother directly for a portion of the inheritance, not even half, just whatever he thinks is fair. Every time, he says no. We believe their father may have intended for him to share the money and step up as a man, helping his mother. My mother-in-law has since changed her mindset. She now believes her daughter deserves equal standing. She has even said I have been more of a son to her than her own son, which has been emotional for all of us. Additionally, my wife has now been added to the mortgage and title of the home, which is a positive outcome. Overall, my wife's relationship with her mom has improved. Unfortunately, her relationship with her brother has worsened. The worst part, my brother-in-law still has not grown up. He still does not have a driver's license or insurance. We recently found out his car registration is expired. We have all tried to help him, but nothing changes. At this point, we have stopped helping him. I told him he needs to grow up and take responsibility. We will only help with things he truly cannot understand. My mother-in-law agrees, although she initially thought we were being harsh. She now believes tough love may be the only way. I have done my best and will continue trying, but there is only so much stress one person can handle. If anyone has advice or feedback, please feel free to share. This community helped before, and I hope it can again. There is much more that has happened, but this is already very long. I am happy to clarify anything if needed. Final note, my wife is now on the title, and with my mother-in-law's inheritance, there is very little risk of default.